Hello, everyone. Hello, world from down under in Australia. My name's Alex Craven. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be presenting and moderating this webinar for you. I'm joined by the Ifso Congress President and my good friend and mentor, Ahmed Ali, the past Ifso President, Gerhard Prager, and the current Ifso President, Dr. Ricardo Cohen. And special thanks to Hazem El Momani for putting together a lot of the visuals you're going to see tonight. We're going to recap on the Ifso 2024 Global Congress that happened right here in my hometown of Melbourne, and something the organizing committee are very proud of. The session title of What You Have Missed. You missed a lot if you didn't come. You missed an excellent chance to meet with the Ifso family in a very social and enjoyable occasion where we also learn a lot. Here, when we have a conference or a congress like this, we often start with what we call a welcome to country. It's an acknowledgement of our First Nations people, our Aboriginal people, and the stewardship of the land, the contribution they made. In this case, we really celebrated that with a performance at the start of the Congress that brought together all of the attendees in a single session. It was very well attended. It was really wonderful to look out and see a room, an auditorium full of more than 1,500 people as we all joined together to learn, to share our experience, and most of all, to work towards better care for our patients. So this is a wonderful session. Ahmed, I'm going to throw to you first and say it was very important to you. I know it was part of your vision to have everyone in the same room at the start of the conference and have big plenary sessions around big ideas. What do you think was the value of that for the conference here?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Look, I think we've seen some great images of that very first plenary on the first day, which, as you said, brought everyone together right at the start of the conference. And we really wanted to do that because I think it gives everybody a sense of united purpose, brings everybody with a common aim, a common goal, a togetherness, a real sense of collegiality. And to do it in such a celebratory way, I mean, the auditorium looked magnificent. There was a real energy and a real good feeling in the room. And then, of course, we opened with that opening plenary. I suspect you'll show us some of that, but it was a big theme. It was big ideas. It was about, how do we integrate our bariatric world into the future? And to open with such big ideas all together, I think just sets the tone for the entire conference. And I think that's what we found was really it created this energy, this interest, this engagement, and everybody throughout the entire 3 days had a real energy about them, were contributing in the meeting and getting so much out of it. So I think it worked really well. We're really happy to see everyone engaging and being so happy with that. And a lot of discussion, generated a lot of discussion. So yeah, very pleased with the way that came out. And I think it was great delegate experience. Certainly the feedback we got was that was the case.
Yeah, I think the feedback on that first session was wonderful, and I agree. It really set a mood. It was exciting, it was friendly, and it was fun. It was
I think that's the exact word for it. Pure elegance.
Thank you, Ian, for that wonderful welcome to country. And thank you all for being here.
I got to be honest, Ahmed, you almost looked a bit surprised at the number of people in the room just then. Who attended and who were they?
Yeah, well, pleasantly surprised. I guess when we were planning the meeting, we recognised it was a long way for many people to travel. I mean, Ifso's international, and people came from a long way. So we thought, look, we might get 1,000. We'd expected that. If we could get 1,500, we thought we'd be pretty happy with that. But actually, people really did support the meeting. They came, and thank you everyone that did come. So ultimately, we ended up with more than 1,700, I think, overall. And the other notable thing about the attendees was there was a really strong representation from our integrated health colleagues. So over 100 dietitians, over 100 physicians, GPs, and over 100 nurses amongst that group. And they came from all over the world. I really delighted actually in looking at the list of delegates and where everyone came from. So they came from 74 countries around the world. They traveled a long way. 160 from China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, over 100 from the US that made the trip. It's a 24-hour trip, so well done. And then, things we didn't expect, 45 from Iran. There was obviously a very wide representation across all the APC nations, which we're really thrilled about because this was in the APC region and it's hard for the APC delegates to travel normally. So it was great that they all made it. But then we had, the outliers that really surprised us, and it was a delight to have them. And actually, I got to meet a few of them personally. So, a couple from Armenia, Mauritius, two from Uzbekistan. I actually met someone from Kurdistan as well, a bariatric physician that was here representing the entire region. So look, it was wonderful to have that interaction with the international community, and very grateful that they all made the trip. And look, again, from the feedback I got, they all had a great time, and I think they don't regret coming along. So.
Yeah, I agree. It was great to see such a multicultural, multi-origin presence. But of course, there was one person that wasn't attending that we were a bit disappointed about. And I guess I just mentioned, I think anyone who ever knew or met Ken Loy, one of our Australian surgeons, would know he would have dearly loved to have been there and certainly embodied the spirit of the Ifso family, and was a wonderful member of this organization. So we did miss him.
Yeah, well, that's right. And Ken was, he was a part of our original organising committee, of course, and unfortunately passed away in that process. But his contributions always remembered, and it was appropriate for us to remember him and acknowledge him at that time. It was sad. I'm sure he was smiling down upon us.
I think a few of us think he was probably there in spirit. He was certainly there in many hearts. And the theme was integration. Tell us about that. Why chose that? Why did you choose that theme, and what did it mean?
Well, I think integration's, I guess a broad concept, but it very much applies to our discipline. Everyone's, I think, aware that really to practice in this area of metabolic and bariatric surgery, it's interdisciplinary. And so there's integration of multiple disciplines, but there's also now the need to start integrating different technologies. There's the need to integrate future developments. We know that artificial intelligence is starting to have more and more impact. And in a field as complex as metabolic and bariatric surgery, integrating in with medicine, our knowledge has to cover so many areas. So what we wanted to do was develop a program that allowed us to look at all of those areas, some in more detail than others, but how do we bring them all together? How do we integrate all of that into a unified process and approach? That doesn't necessarily mean that everything's exactly the same, but the understanding that it's more than just technical surgery. There's a lot more going on. So that was broadly our theme, and I think we accomplished that in the program. If you look at the program, this is sort of color coded, and the sort of pink red sessions were the ones that you'd say were, largely surgical based, based around the technical aspects of surgery. We had dedicated integrated health sessions more than ever before, I think, at any Congress, and that reflected the fact that we had such big integrated health representation. But there's really what I want to emphasize. There were a large number of integrated sessions, those that could be classified as surgical or integrated health, or a mixture of both. And so that brought disciplines together to share their knowledge and ideas and concepts, and that integrated approach. And I think you can just see this snapshot here. Quite a lot of the program was in that yellow color. So I think that was the idea of the program, bringing that together. And again, certainly the impression we got, the level of engagement, there were a number of sessions that were, to be honest, booked out. They were great, higher attendance than we expected. We had to almost turn people away from the door for some of these sessions that you may not have necessarily thought that. And I think that reflected, again, the appetite for the delegates and the audience to be really interacting with integrated type sessions and not just the purely surgical. Obviously, the surgical is still important. It was there, and they were high quality, and it was terrific. But this combined, integrated, broad approach, exploring some ideas that perhaps people hadn't had time to look at in detail, I think proved really fruitful and beneficial. But I'd like to hear from our international guests. I mean, you and I were helping in our organising committee planning all of this, but Ricardo, Gerhard, what was the feeling there? Hazem, did you guys get that sense of this meeting? Was it different in any way in that sense?
Absolutely. I think you did a fantastic job bringing together not only surgeons, but all the integrated health family. And I think this was unique this year. For the first time, you really had the feeling that everything is merging and coming together, and not only in terms of treatment modalities, but also in terms of different people. So I think this was a big success, and the entire team has to be congratulated on that.
I think we learn a lot from those different perspectives, really. Sorry, Ricardo, please go ahead.
Oh, we felt that this is one of the only Ifso meetings that really, as Gerard said, got together different people, and all of them very excited to be there. That was different. Everybody was excited, attending the sessions, talking to people. So that was the meeting. So congratulations again.
Thank you. That was definitely what we said right at the start, I think, from our organising committee, if people walk away happy, feeling like they had a great experience and they learned things, then that's all we want. So that was great.
And then, of course, we started with the pre-conference workshops, and I just want to highlight the attendance of these was enormous. These images here are of the integrated health course, which was the largest in Ifso history, and actually the largest of the pre-conference workshops, which is really impressive. There were a lot of excellent pre-conference workshops. We had, I guess the more traditional ones on complications and on bypass. There were some very hands-on sessions, and more than 50 people each in a hands-on robotic and a hands-on endoscopy session. All credit to the organizers of those. That's really impressive to do that. And a couple of, well, not first, but we had the World Obesity Federation Scope School running as well. That was well attended and very well received, with a large number of attendees. And as a first, we also ran an early careers fundamentals course for early career surgeons, which we haven't done before, and that was also quite well received. So I think those pre-conference workshops seemed quite a success. I think all of you were involved in some. How did you feel about those?
The scope school was something very different. I've been involved in different scope schools in the medical meeting, not in the surgical meetings. And I was really amazed that we had a mixed audience. The room was packed. We had surgeons interested in the basics of how to see a patient with obesity, and a lot of interactions. And again, people were excited to be in the same room with different specialties. So that was a good job that you guys could achieve. And the scope school, as an example, WAF in the clinical care committee, as I am involved with them, was very grateful of the way we push them into being integrated in our meeting, not a separate thing in a separate room away from the main conference. So again, a huge success.
Yeah, and I've got to say thank you to Ricardo for helping get that up as well, because there was a bit of work getting that up, but boy, did it bear fruit. Ricardo, I think you probably wouldn't be aware, but that the fact that scope school was running actually went well beyond Ifso borders. There were general community GPs that don't necessarily have anything to do with Ifso at all that found out about this course and attended. It was wonderful, actually.
And therefore attended some of the real program as well, which is even better. Like, not only did we get them to the scope school, but they came along to days of the conference. This is amazing. This is really cool. To have referrers in the room is really important.
That's why they were excited from WAF. They were really excited because different people were attending in the surgical meeting. So that was a big hit.
Excellent. And then, of course, day one, first day, I guess we've already alluded to, each of the first 2 days started with a large session to get everyone together and focus on a big theme. And I've cut together the first of those, which, as Ahmed's mentioned, was looking at the future and how we integrate care and what that might look like. So
we know with changes in data and healthcare, everything we know is going to change. But some things are going to stay the same. What's going to stay the same is us caring for our patients and us interacting with each other and learning off each other.
But all of them appear at least to be capable of preserving muscle in the face of weight loss. And so I find them really exciting targets. I think they get for their contribution they can make to a comprehensive weight management package that includes metabolic surgery. And I don't think there really needs to be a case made for superiority here. It's about what can be best achieved in combination. What is weight maintenance and what's the best way to achieve it?
I would suggest that we all embrace this new era power of combining the two most effective treatments for metabolic disease. We can look at it as competition, or we can embrace this change, and as the theme of this whole conference is figure out how to integrate this new therapy with strengths that we have with metabolic and bariatric surgery.
By OpenAI, and generative AI is a game changer. I do think that anytime you introduce technology, it has great potential, both for good and bad. It's an amplifier. And you'll be seeing more of it that will influence your practice over time and the other clinical disciplines that you're in. Thank you very much.
So the theme of integration, the theme of technology looking forward, were there any take-homes that surprised anyone on the panel, things that they took away from the conference, new ideas or new practices?
I was a little bit astonished by the already big presence of artificial intelligence and the outlook, how it will interact with our field in the near future. This was really something that I was interested in and was astonishing me. So this was really fantastic talks on AI. There were several other talks during the Congress, but this is something I took for me for the future, the role of AI in the field of metabolic bariatric surgery.
And very soon, I think, Ahmed, you and I talked about this. We thought, oh, this is going to be looking 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. And it's like, no, this is next week. This is really coming now. And we had some of the usual sessions, of course, the debates around sleeve. You can't have an Ifso without a sleeve debate or two. And again, something around the evidence base and of what we do. Also, there were, as Ahmed said, deliberate integrated health sessions. And also, as always, we include our ISCOP, our anesthetic colleagues, for sure. I think these sorts of sessions, too, are worth talking about. I think there'll forever be a place of IFSO, the difficult cases and the horrible complications. And I think we all show up to just watch someone else suffer through a miserable situation and enjoy their distress. But I think these are important sessions for allowing us to see what experienced surgeons do in times of trouble. I know all of you have been that experienced surgeon. So thank you from the younger surgeons amongst us for all that you do for that.
Yeah, again, Alex, these surgical sessions, and this was a great one. I didn't sign up for this, the disaster videos. All these surgical sessions were really fruitful, and again, there's a lot of good positive feedback. The speakers were all excellent. And it's the sort of everyday management dilemmas that we find ourselves in. Some of them a little more tricky than others, as well as just, I think they're probably coming up later, some of the sessions on technical aspects of bypass, for example, bipartition, where we still have questions to answer. And whilst we often discuss these things, there is updated information, there are new ways of looking at things and so on. So, yep, that's often standard fare. But again, you get new information or you consolidate information. So I think it's been terrific. And of course, the debate ones and the quiz ones and the video ones are always very, very popular. And, there was no exception this time. So.
Yeah, I think, and this is the point at which I'd say, a lot of these sessions were very interesting, very informative, but a lot of them were a lot of fun as well. And many of them, the speakers have generously let us record their sessions and make them available. So these will be available on the YouTube, the IFSO YouTube channel, and of course the IFSO Virtual Academy for IFSO members. They'll be there. This webinar will be recorded. It will be there as well. And obviously, in preparation for this, I had a look through some of these talks. These are extremely high quality talks. I really think, they're recorded well. The AV quality is exceptional, and these are some of the best in the world talking about what they know best. These are good talks worthy of people's time. I really think those of us who were there are probably going to look at a lot of the talks we missed because of too many good things on at the same time. I know I'll be going back to look at a few, but I hope a lot of other people will as well. I wanted to stop and mention the exhibition space was the most fun I've had at an exhibition space at a conference for a long time. It was humming, it was loud, it was rowdy. People were talking all the time. That kind of doesn't happen at other conferences. What is it about Ifso that keeps everyone talking and friendly and smiling and approaching strangers to have a coffee with? What is that? What's the secret sauce there?
We won't tell anybody. This is our secret sauce, and we'll keep gonna keep on doing this. Otherwise, others may want to imitate us, but nobody can imitate us.
I think it was the great food in Australia that made everyone smile in the exhibition area. You served fantastic food there, guys. Really. I can remember the oysters, for instance. This was really
the oysters.
Well, they were not the oysters; they're the oysters at the harbor. So we learn a new English as well.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think it's part of Ifso, and having fun is part of Ifso, and so those sessions, like you said, they're educational, but they were fun. I mean, I was involved in one where you're looking at management dilemmas, and honestly, again, you see there are different ways to approach the same problem, and there are different ideas and they all have validity, but it puts more arrows in your quiver, doesn't it, when you see how someone else might do it? So all of that's helpful. I honestly think too, the plenaries, bringing everyone together once a day, creating that energy, it spills out. It spills out over into the trade. Like you said, there was a very high level of engagement with the trade. The food helped. Yes, you brought people in there, and I must say it was very good food actually. But you put all those ingredients together, and I think that's the result you get. And again, talking to industry, they were very happy with the level of engagement of delegates coming in and learning from them. And that's what partnership is. It's not just sponsorship one way, partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were going to, at some point, get around to talking about and thanking sponsors, and now's as good a time as any, because I think we need to acknowledge that those sponsors, this year in particular, were partners as much as sponsors. They were telling us, they were giving us ideas, they were swapping ideas and concepts with us. It was wonderful.
Yeah, no, very much. And
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oh, Siri. AI is really taking over.
That's it.
wants to run the thing. Yeah, so Ethicon, our visionary sponsors, and all of our platinum and gold and silver sponsors. Eli Lilly came on board as well, and Medtronic and so on, and Gore. So again, like you said, it was a true partnership, and thank you. We can't run these things without them, but equally, I think they got value out of it as well, and that's what partnership is. So it was terrific.
We do sessions around new and different indications, which I think is
that's right. We did
showing
look
the
at some of we did look at some of the indications outside of the usual, and I was involved in that, functional one, and actually it was really good. I learned a lot in that session. So yeah, I recommend people have a look at that, because it's not something we talk about a lot.
Good. And there's the oysters. We got the oysters in.
Yeah.
Day 2. And again, moving on to day 2, and day 2 started again with a large and important session around a concept that we all feel is going to significantly impact positively on the way we practice and the way we treat our patients. And so we thought at this point we'd love to pause. I think, Dr. Cohen, you are heavily involved in this Lancet Commission on redefining clinical obesity, and I think there's no one better to talk to that concept. So we'd really appreciate you doing so now, if you would.
Great, thank you, Alex. Are the slides on?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So we have this scenario worldwide. We do 1 to 3% of the eligible patients to surgery. Less than 10% are treated through pharmacotherapy. So we're treating, and we have 20 to 30% of non-responders. So as Alex said, we need to do something, because if nothing changes, if nothing changes. Look at the new guidelines. We have 2022 Ifso ASMBS guidelines. By the way, the scientific background was published a couple of days ago, so please go and read it. And 95% of the primary care physicians were unaware of the 2022 updated guidelines. So we need to do something to move the field. And this is the purpose of the Lancet Commission. It has no industry funding. And we had 58% of world-leading experts, most of them academic physicians specializing in obesity care and well distributed worldwide. Look at the map. And we had, since June 2022, regular online and monthly meetings of the whole groups and 8 subcommittees on genetics, clinical signs and symptoms, and all that's written in the slide. So it was a very comprehensive commission to define what is clinical obesity. And our aims was to identify objective criteria for its diagnosis, because other specialties had diseases with signs and symptoms. And clinical obesity is conceived as a state of illness that reflects a deviation from the normal functioning of tissues, organs, and the organs as a whole. So what we want with this clinical, with the definition of clinical obesity, is to inform decision-making of clinicians, ourselves, and others who are involved in the care of obesity, policymakers, to prioritize the clinical interventions. Clinical mean pharmacotherapy, lifestyle interventions, and surgery, and public health strategies. The current framing of obesity is something that we know some mechanisms. We know the physical phenotype, so is a visual diagnosis. We know some of the mechanism of pathophysiology. However, the current framing of obesity still states that obesity is a harbinger for other diseases and other disease itself. So we have the obesity-related diseases that define obesity, but it's not the truth. The truth, obesity is a disease by itself. And the consequence of the current framing of obesity is we always do prophylactic intent of weight loss. So we do operations to decrease the chance of a risk of diabetes, a risk of cancer, of any other complications of obesity. And some may argue, well, we have the obesity scoring and staging systems. Yeah, but remember, those Edmontons are the King's obesity stage criteria. They focus on comorbidities, sleep apnea, for example, heart disease, diabetes. They don't do the diagnosis of obesity. They just stage the risk of complications after obesity is installed. So they do not describe a specific illness due to obesity alone. Look at Jack. Jack has fatigue, dyspnea, he has recurrent bilateral knee pain, he has restrictive pulmonary defect, he has no diabetes, but he's currently unemployed. He's used to work for a moving company, but because of his disease of obesity, of clinical obesity, he was no longer able to run his job duty, so he was fired. And if we reframe obesity as a disease state in clinical practice, we have to define disease. Disease is a harmful deviation from the normal structure of functional state of an organism associated with signs and symptoms, and that limits daily activities. A disease impacts health at the present, different than the current definition, where obesity is an abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to health. Again, this risk may or may not materialize in the future, so we don't have a definition of the current disease at the moment. Obesity is a disease that affects life at the present, now, over the patient's life. So some historical examples, we have a thyroid nodule. No head and neck surgery will perform thyroidectomies in all patients with people with thyroid nodules. We do not perform esophagectomies in people with Barrett's esophagus. We stratify them and prioritize them for treatment over their evolution. And we all understand the limits of the BMI defining obesity, because BMI should not be used diagnosing clinical obesity, ranking the severity of obesity, class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, should not be the sole criterion to establish indication for any therapeutic interventions, and should never determine the coverage of obesity treatments. And an anatomy of a disease may be defined by its etiology, pathophysiology, and an illness itself with typical signs and symptoms that characterize a cluster, is linked to pathophysiology, and has a typical evolution of in time of its complications. Look at diabetes. We know most of the etiology, we know most of pathophysiology, and we know the clinical manifestations: fatigue, polyuria, polydipsia, weight gain or loss, depending on the stage of diabetes. And we have the complications: micro and macrovascular, like retinopathy, kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, etc. So this is diabetes as a disease. What about obesity? We have mechanisms of adipose tissue expansion. We have a diagnosis that so far is visual. We know some of the pathophysiology. We know some etiological mechanisms, pathophysiological mechanisms, and we know there's some obesity-related diseases. But this is our job at the Lancet Commission on Clinical Obesity: define what is clinical obesity. Because if you look at lupus, for example, or depression, they have major and minor signs and symptoms. And obesity defined as a risk factor. And if I say to payers, policymakers, and public health professionals that we have 2 billion people to be treated, this is unpractical. Nobody will treat it. So 2 billion people, it's really something unmanageable. So finally, the Lancet Commission on Clinical Obesity, what it interferes in our specialty. First, I could spend today speaking about this, but first, it decreases obesity stigmatization because we define obesity as a disease itself. After 18 signs and symptoms, I cannot disclose them because it's under embargo of Lancet. And finally, it's in the end, we're just at the finish line of publishing this within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Prioritizing treatment not based on BMI or the need of other diseases to say that obesity is a disease by itself. We can measure and report remission of clinical obesity. This will change the way we define it, because if I put lupus into remission, decreasing the signs and symptoms, the intensity of them, we can put obesity into remission as well. We will inform policymakers about, and private payers and public payers, about how much they're going to spend to treat who needs to be prioritized. At the Lancet Commission, we're not saying that people should be treated, only a cluster of them, and the rest won't be treated. We're just suggesting how to prioritize treatment. And finally, this will carry more demand for metabolic and bariatric surgery. So stay tuned. 4 to 6 weeks, it's coming soon at the Lancet Diabetes Endocrinology, and maybe at the mother Lancet, the big Lancet journal. Thank you very much. So I think Alex and Gerhard and everybody, this will change the landscape. It's a kickoff. It's not perfect at all. I cannot disclose the signs and symptoms so far, but this will change the way we can look at more people looking for surgery, more people looking for pharmacotherapy, more people looking for treatment of obesity.
It will have a tremendous impact.
Yeah, and I think for those of us that talk to payers, decision makers, even at our local levels, these are the kind of things that really help and inform those conversations. When we can give very clear rationales for who we want to treat and why, and what that will improve, not just for the individual patient, but for society and healthcare. In general. So
exactly. So we define 18 signs and symptoms, major and minor. This will have a score for the diagnosis, and we can prioritize them. And for example, semaglutide for diabetes was available for people with diabetes, but not with obesity. So it will decrease the stigmatization. We will improve the access to the treatment. So I think it's not perfect at all. It's the first step, but we're going to bring this topic to the media, to the public, to public health specialists, to policymakers, to improve the access to care. So this is the purpose.
Yeah, I think that stigma effect of having something defined by signs and symptoms means that, a healthcare professional has to sit down, talk to someone, actually understand what's going on in their body and how that's affecting their life before they make snap judgments about that person's health and what it means. And I think that's such a big step for stigma.
Exactly. So let's go.
So 4 to 6 weeks is wonderful. That's that's really soon. That's exciting. It's very exciting.
That's great.
Finally, we've been working.
It was the perfect.
We've been working forever.
Yeah, it was a perfect topic for a plenary. It really was. And of course, more of the sessions, the bypass. Have we figured bypass out yet? We've got it all figured out. Everyone knows exactly what limb length to use. No questions about pouch size anymore.
No,
all sorted.
we got a little bit closer, but I suspect we'll keep talking about it.
I think there were also great topics like chronic pain after bypass or reflux after Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, which was really took a lot of interest. So was
yes, that's right. Session. There was a chronic complications of bypass session. Yeah, I remember that one because I couldn't get to it and I really wanted to. But yeah, it was all those things that are very hard to manage: chronic pain,
fantastic speakers,
hypoglycemia. Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah,
persistent ulcer. Yeah.
I think we're still on day 2. This was another key topic that certainly came up again with medications in a few different sessions. And actually, I want to quickly stop and talk about this. I want to make sure this comes across as a comment rather than a criticism. But I think in non-surgical obesity conferences, in medical conferences, you don't see much talk of bariatric and metabolic surgery as a whole. And I'm just saying that objectively looking through a program of one. And I think in some circles, it's still a bit taboo. It's still the thing that it's a sign of failure to involve the surgeon. And I think this society could easily have taken the opposite view and deliberately avoided talk about medications. And instead, I think this society has clearly embraced every tool available to a caring clinician for the care of patients. And I think that is a really that was really evident in this conference and in the speakers and in a lot of the sessions that weren't about medications where they still came up as a tool to be used. So I think that was a real strength of Ifso going forward. And of course, there's a consensus.
You hit the nail because they are in a honeymoon with the new drugs. Everything is positive. Yesterday, something was published about GLP-1 receptor analogs decrease sweating in patients with obesity. So they're looking for different. They are in a honeymoon, but the first medical society who will approach obesity management medications and surgery is the Obesity Society, TOS, North American one. So I'll be there. I'll be online. I cannot travel to their conference, but speaking on our future paper that's coming out in a few weeks. So I think TOS, it's the first one to embrace. The Obesity Medical Association in the States, the second one. We need to move with this. But you're perfectly right, Alex. We are doing our job, and they're still in the honeymoon. But some smart people in the medical societies are figuring out that we need to have the oncology rationale. Everything in our hands, and patients will do well with pharmacotherapy, others will do well with surgery, others will do well with both combined. So it's our struggle, it's our job to show them that surgery is still there. It's still we have 40 years of data on the Swedish obesity subject cohort. We are safe. So this is our job. And if so, it's really not fighting aggressively. I don't mean fighting by fight, but we're fighting to prove that our operations are there, safe, and with good outcomes. So this is what we need to do.
And so this, I've got a few bites from this session as well. Another one that I'd recommend.
Thus, there was there is no top-level evidence regarding the patient representatives really had a lot of resistance against the word anti-obesity medications for the fact that it is a stigmatizing wording. So it was decided to call it obesity management medications. You see, there is insufficient high-level evidence to recommend the routine use of OMMs for weight loss before metabolic bariatric surgery. But there might be some special situations.
If you look at the costs of cardiovascular complications of obesity by themselves, it's billions of dollars. To be cost-effective, GLP-1 receptor analogs of the new generation should cost under $6 a day. there is an incremental net benefit in surgery. So we have health benefits and financial benefits to the system.
So again, the conclusion was that higher BMI patients are better candidates for surgery.
Understanding this as the model of care for the future of obesity treatment. It is an oncology model, understanding it's a chronic progressive disease.
So, and I guess another important paper coming out soon. Has that been published yet? The consensus statement, Gerhard, or is
not yet. Gary, you can comment because it was your consensus.
I think it will be in a few weeks. We are planning, or Ricardo is the main author, will be the last author of that paper. It's already written, it's under review, and it will come out in a few weeks. Yeah, I think it's very important. And there was this very nice talk about the concept to treat of obesity treatment as a chronic disease comparable to an oncologic disease. So first-line treatment, second-line treatment, interaction of different treatment modalities, and this will clearly be the future. And in that Ifso consensus conference, we really tried to define the role of OMMs in the context of metabolic bariatric surgery. So before MBS, after MBS, when to stop it before, when to start it after, all these aspects we tried to cover.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I can see the pieces coming together. We're getting a better definition. We're getting a more clinical defining of disease. We're getting a more comprehensive, lifelong view of the patient and treatment courses. It's an exciting time. It's important pieces are coming together. It's really cool.
With these important contributions, there's no way that the medical societies, the key opinion leaders in the medical field, will disregard surgery and disregard what we're doing. So I think both combined, the Lancet Commission on the definition, plus the Vienna consensus, this is a landmark in our field of metabolic and bariatric surgery. And it was fun to do this because we did a group work. You were friends doing something very collaborative, and you'll see the final paper, both the Delphi paper and the systematic review, they're merged together to give information to all clinicians who deal with patients with obesity and their complications. I think you agree, Gerhard.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think the point to make here is, I know this is an Ifso consensus, but this was not a surgeon-only consensus.
I think this is so important to state. We had really the key opinion leaders from all over the world, patients, representatives, and everybody agreed to come to Vienna. We had 2 days. And the way we did it, I think it's also important, a very sound scientific basis. We made a systematic review before. All the attendees had the same level of information. They were sent all the level of evidence. So I think this is really the first time we did it that way.
Yeah, wonderful. Well done to all involved. As I said, it's an exciting paper coming. Day 3 was the last day of the conference. We didn't start with the plenary. It was the only day we didn't start with the plenary because, of course, we finished or nearly finished with the presidential session. Again, a day full of good sessions. At this point, as the session topics come up, I will mention again, there are so many of these recorded. Everyone who gave their permission to have their talks recorded, thank you so much. These are really world-class, excellent talks to be found. And the last thing I think is, as we are in day 3, if anyone is online and has any questions, I mean, you have the absolute masters here. You've got the Congress president, you've got the current and outgoing president. So if there are any questions, there's a Q&A button you can click on, fire them through, and we'll answer what we can. We won't have a lot of time, but if there are any, please send them through. I wanted to quickly talk about this because you did the free papers. We did things a little bit different because we had too many.
Yeah, that's right. Again, with the great attendance, we had 730 submissions for free papers, and many people traveling a long way to wanting to present. So we tried to think of a way to get everybody involved, and look, in the end, we had managed to get 345 presentations, 88 from Integrated Health, and then I had about 200 posters. And we did have the traditional top papers session. I'll come back to that, both in Integrated Health and in the surgical papers. But the thing that we did a little bit different this time in order to accommodate things and keep things moving was that the scored abstracts were then ranked and put into topics, and then sessions were created that way. We ended up with 28 sessions that were all very well themed. But we did have a portion that were rapid fire presentations. So the delegates had 3 minutes to present their work with 5 slides, which, you know, is a challenge. That's not an easy thing to do, but it did make them focus and concentrate on it. We had a bit of fun with it. The sessions went extremely well, and I think actually in the end everyone quite enjoyed it.
I just did that so you knew what it would feel like to be cut off when you weren't finished talking.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I've done my 3 minutes.
I set you up. That was your 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it,
it worked very well, and it was entertaining, kept things moving. So I think you know, again, another nice innovation, and well done to all of the free paper presenters. They really did a great job, actually.
Yeah, they're good quality too. Like really, they're really rare. Shark Tank was another fun session. That was pretty cool. Well done, Camilla. That was a wonderful session.
Yeah. Finally won that. Yeah, Camilla did a great job with that one. It was another one of those fun sessions. Because we had Lane Beach, who was our Scopenara lecturer, the 7-time world champion surfer.
I really liked her talk.
Again, fitted in with the Australian theme, surfing, coastal.
I think she had a lot to teach you about not just being successful in surgery, but also in life and maybe even in surgery. God, I have to stop it. How do you do this as the president with keep that smile? So many people, so many countries, so many time zones, so many meetings.
Yeah.
How is the smile still there?
It is the Ifso family, you know, this gives you a lot of energy and input, and they had a fantastic support through the entire year. Also during this conference, thanks to you, to the organizing committee, but also the Ifso secretary. I always mention that. Stephanie and Manuela, they are doing such a great job. You wouldn't believe that there are only 2 people in the Ifso secretary, in the Ifso headquarters, but they are really amazing. And this saved my life in that year, honestly speaking. Yeah.
I believe
I like the Scopenara lecture a lot. This was very, very inspiring, I think, how to deal with challenges and how she all did that. This was really fantastic lecture.
Thank the entire Ifso Executive Board for their trust, their help, their ongoing support, the Ifso committees, and of course the Ifso headquarters. Sometimes you would not believe that only 2 people are working there. It is a little bit like Supergirl Manuela and Wonder Woman Stephanie. It was an honor to serve the last 12 months for you as an Ifso president, and I want to thank you, all of you, very much for your support and your trust in me. Thank you very much.
You couldn't help but embarrass you one last time.
This
It's
is
the
the
Australian way.
way.
It's how we show we love you, is to embarrass you just a little bit.
Ricardo will be the next Ifso president 2024-2025. And I ask you for the oath of the Ifso president.
Thank you, Gerhard. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ifso, for considering me and trust me on 24-25 Ifso presidency.
And then the rest, of course, was one big party, because you can't have an Ifso Congress without a party, and what a great and fun time. I'm very glad you all got out and enjoyed a bit of Melbourne. Did you like Melbourne? I think we had a Delphi consensus that it's definitely the best city in the world. This was a highlight for me. Although, Ahmed, I believe there was an Ifso rule against live surgery, and you did the world's biggest sleeve gastrectomy on the final night.
Well, that's right. The gala dinner, we had our drone show, which was months and months of planning, but boy, was it spectacular, and I'm so glad we were able to present it. So it was really good fun. There's some DNA, but now we get our sleeve gastrectomy and then our single anastomosis bypass. So the drone company was a great show. Really great way to finish the conference. Begin the gala night, everyone had a great time. So we thank you. Thank every one of the delegates and all of our sponsors and my organising committee, of course, and Gerhard and Ricardo and everyone that worked so hard to put the conference together. So sorry to those that missed out. I hope you can get a feel from it, from the videos. You can certainly get the educational material. So jump to it. And again, thank you. We had a great time.
There are so many fantastic sessions recorded. Really, people should take a look at that at the YouTube channel. It's definitely worth, I mean, world-class sessions, really.
Yeah, I think other things I would say, that's two key papers coming out that we should all be excited about and looking out for: the Lancet Commission paper, the consensus statement. I would also draw everyone's attention to the papers, as Ricardo Cohen just mentioned, on the systematic review and the evidence behind the updated guidelines. They're a very valuable and useful paper. I think if there's one paper you read this year, that would certainly help you as a surgeon. So Ifso is contributing a lot right now. It's really great to see. So that's wonderful. Any last words, questions, or comments on Ifso Melbourne?
You rocked
Any
it.
advice?
You guys rocked it. This was a fantastic Congress, great attendance. You were incredible hosts. So thank you so much. It was definitely worth the journey. And I can only tell everybody who missed it, maybe go to Santiago next year, not to miss another one.
Yeah, that's right. No, thank you, Gerhard. It was our pleasure to host everyone. It was great. It was really a really great week. So many great memories. So thank you.
Yeah. So
yeah, congratulations, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, you
were
good.
You were good.
My last thing, and that's to say, Chili's coming.
Everyone,
imagine a place at the end of the world. Imagine a little paradise full of tremendous landscapes.
Plus, you know the Chileans can party.
Imagine feeling like the whole world is all yours. Breathe deeply. Then let your breath be taken away. Now, imagine the people who live here, people with stories, with their hearts and arms wide open. Chile is just like its people, just like its landscapes. Chile is open nature.
You're muted there, Alex, but everybody get down to Santiago.
I think
there's something.
It looks
there's
very
something.
good.
There's something in Santiago that we won't miss. Melbourne, 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
there's a bit of overlap there.
We got that, and then of course
we're still getting that now.
But don't forget, we got a lot of chapter congresses before then as well. Ifso APC is in Mumbai. Is he in Vienna? Is that right?
No, it wasn't Vienna.
In Venice.
Venice, also
Venice. Sorry,
location.
wrong fee. Yeah, beautiful, excellent. Good. Well, thank you all very much. We're finishing right on time, which is unbelievable, really, given all the things we could have talked about. Thank you so much for your time. Ahmed, congratulations again on a phenomenal conference and all that you did to make it happen. Congratulations to both our past and incoming presidents. Ifso is a very powerful and active organization from the work of people like you, so thank you. Thank you, of course, to the Secretariat, Manuela and Stephanie, as we have mentioned, for helping us put this together. And again, a special mention to Hazem El-Mamani for helping with a lot of the audio visuals and keeping us all on track for this conference. So thank you, everyone. Please check out the recordings, and we'll see you all in Chile. Thank you all, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.